Hi everybody, I hope you're all doing really well. So today I am back to do my spring 2023 favourites, where I go over all of the things that I have been loving, not necessarily bookish, through March, April and May. This is something that I have promised I am going to get a lot better at doing quarterly, and so here I am, trying to stick to my word. As I say, typically these are non-bookish favourites, but I always do like to start these videos with a couple of books that I have been loving the most. And I have to say, top book off the lot for March, April, May was definitely Elizabeth of York, The Last White Rose by Alison Weir. You'll have heard me talk about this in my History-a-thon video, where I went through all of the Women's History Month books that I read. You'll also have definitely heard me talk ad nauseum about the Six Tudor Queens series by Alison Weir, so when I found out that she was starting a new series, which would be looking at Elizabeth of York, Henry VIII, which has just come out, and Mary I, I was super excited, and this definitely lived up to all my expectations. I find Elizabeth of York such a fascinating figure in late War of the Roses, early Tudor history, but I feel like she's someone who doesn't really get much attention because she isn't like a main active player in the Wars of the Roses, but she lived through so much amazing and often terrifying history that being able to get a bit of time in her perspective, in her brain, was so fascinating. I would say out of the Six Tudor Queens series, this is most comparable to my favourite of the six, which was Jane Seymour. To be honest, she's not my favourite of the six wives, but her book was my favourite of the six. And I would say that Elizabeth of York seems as much of an introspective character, but she is a lot more active, the way that Alison Weir writes her. So I might even like this a little bit more than the Six Tudor Queens. Ooh, I don't know, I'll have to come back to you on that one. But yeah, if you love Tudor history and maybe you're wanting to get a little taster of some earlier history, then this would definitely be right up your street. Then moving on to film and TV favourites, I did watch a little bit more film and TV in spring than I did in winter, but to be honest, I still don't watch a whole lot of film and TV. It's something I do want to get better at because I'm constantly hearing people recommend me things that sound absolutely amazing, and I'm like, yeah, I'll definitely watch that, and then I don't watch that. But the two big TV shows for me in the spring months were, first off, season 3 of Miss Scarlet and the Duke. That came out, and it came out all in one go to watch online, and I was very happy about it. Miss Scarlet and the Duke is set in late Victorian London, I think it's the 1880s, 1890s, following Eliza Scarlett, who ends up inheriting her father's detective agency, but of course, being a female detective in Victorian London is very much looked down upon. And still in season 3, whenever Miss Scarlett introduces herself as a lady detective, they're just like, you're a what? And it's all of her adventures and misadventures. She often ends up being accompanied by her longtime friend and occasional rival, Inspector Wellington from Scotland Yard, who do seem to like to antagonise each other, but there is definitely a will they won't they aspect to their relationship. Their relationship, otherwise known as the slowest slow burn that ever slow burned, to a point this season that did get quite irritating. And because of where this season ended up finishing, I don't feel like I can wait for season 4. I feel like they just need to give it to me now please. I need to know what happens next. Similarly, I also ended up watching Queen Charlotte. That was one of my anticipated TV shows for this season, which is of course a spin-off prequel to Bridgerton, following the early life of Queen Charlotte, Lady Danbury and Violet Bridgerton, though Violet Bridgerton only features a little bit in the series. We're especially looking at Queen Charlotte and her relationship to King George, them falling in love, but it's soon becoming apparent that George is struggling very much with mental health issues, particularly delusions, paranoia, and everyone trying to keep this a secret because the king cannot be mad. I feel like it was a hard line for this series to track because there is a lot of lightness and humour in the Bridgerton series. There are some like silly, frivolous moments, but also you're having to balance that with the very serious topic of mental illness and the horrific ways that mental illness was treated in this time period. And Bridgerton is also not very well known for being the most historically accurate thing. It is definitely meant to be kind of like light history, historically inspired, but not going to be perfect on every little thing. You know, it's meant to be much more escapism than it is a documentary. I feel like they did actually get that balance very well. I feel like it was written very sensitively. And yeah, the ending of it, the very final scene, did make me cry, and every single time I think about a particular exchange between two of the characters in the last scene, I do tear up. It got me. My apologies for the change in lighting, probably, and the change in position. I was partway through filming and then my Chinese takeaway arrived, and I'm really sorry to all of you. This has never happened before, but food does take precedence, I'm afraid. But I am back. But yeah, as typical for Bridgerton, the costumes are absolutely gorgeous. Obviously, they are doing the same kind of thing with Queen Charlotte as they do for Bridgerton, in that they have like an aesthetic where the silhouettes are somewhat accurate to the time period, not all of them, but the colours, the materials, the patterns, the textures are all very, very modern. And it's all brightly coloured and very fun. And actually looking at the costumes for Queen Charlotte and comparing them to Bridgerton, I have a feeling that the costume department actually secretly prefers the more 1760s Georgian fashion to the 1810s Regency. I feel like they prefer those silhouettes because they stick to them a lot more rigidly. And if that's true, I kind of agree with them because I loved all of the costumes in this. The music, once again, they do this classic twist on pop songs, and I have been listening to them outside of the show. I just think they're so gorgeous. So yeah, I had a really good time with this show. I have a couple of beauty favourites. First off, we have the Aveeno Daily Moisturising After Shower Mist. I'm a very big fan of the Aveeno body lotion just generally. I use this especially for my hands. This is the only thing that actually seems to work on my hands when they are super dry and disgusting, as they have been recently. But I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm pretty lazy when it comes to moisturising my body, and when I discovered this has been a game changer because you can just like spray this on your body, just give it a little bit of a pat, and you are fully moisturised and beautiful. Obviously, you'll probably want a lotion for like knees and elbows and anywhere that is a little bit drier, but for every day, this is really, really good. Changing my life. Another beauty favourite, which is kind of sad because I can't wear this at the moment, is the NYX Epic Wear Waterproof Eye and Body Liquid Liner. I don't use it on my body, I only use it on my eyes. But this is in the shade Stone Fox, which is kind of a dark grey colour. You'll know that typically in my videos I like to wear a full face of makeup, and I do like to do liquid eyeliner, and that is usually like a proper jet black colour. But recently I've been playing around with this slightly lighter colour. I say lighter, it's still dark grey. And I actually feel like this looks a lot more natural as you know, block eyeliner can look. I just think it gives a slightly lighter look for every day. I've recently been getting into like the colour analysis thing, you know, the colour season, trying to match like your best colours to your skin tone and your hair. And I've discovered from my efforts that I might actually be a summer, in which case black is quite harsh on me, whereas something like this that is a little bit lighter actually kind of blends with my skin a lot better. And I do think it's true. That doesn't mean I'm going to be giving up black eyeliner for good, but this is just a bit more subtle for every day. Unfortunately, considering that at time of filming I am like 3.5, almost 4 weeks into an eye infection that just won't go away, I've not been wearing this recently, and it's very, very sad for me. I just want to wear eye makeup again. A podcast favourite that I have been absolutely loving is the Rom-Com Rewind podcast. I've mentioned before that I love the Heaving Bosoms. It's the ice cream van. I did in fact go and get an ice cream. I'm so sorry, this is the most distracted by food favourites video ever. Okay, we will finish this video without distractions while it's still light. Oh god. So yes, you all know that I really, really love the Heaving Bosoms podcast, which is a romance book podcast. I had recently completed like my third or fourth re-listen to their episodes, and I was still in the mood to have something similar. I also enjoy a film podcast from time to time. I realised what I really wanted was to hear somebody like gushing about Notting Hill or Bridget Jones or just something similar. And so I literally just typed rom-com into my podcast app, and this podcast came up, the Rom-Com Rewind. It's hosted by Devon and Sarah, who are actually a couple. Typically they are reviewing rom-coms that they've already seen, but occasionally they will do new things as well. And yeah, they basically just go through the plot and just discuss the film, what they liked about it, what they didn't. They end up giving an overall rating of rewatchability at the end. And it was just exactly what I was in the mood for. And it's another romance related media podcast where I am going back and re-listening to them, even though I just discovered them. Rom-coms are very rewatchable, and apparently rom-com podcasts also very re-listenable too. And now onto some miscellaneous favourites. The first one being something physical, and that is the lemon drizzle cake hot chocolate from Whittards. Now you'll probably know that I love white hot chocolate, it is my favourite thing. You may also know that I love lemon cake. So basically, both of these favourite things that I love in all the world smashed together to create my perfect blend of white hot chocolate. It is so tasty. And whenever I mention it to people, they kind of have this look of, ew, that sounds disgusting. Lemon and white chocolate? No, no, no. But what I would say about this is that I think it works because there is like this lemon cake aspect, and the cake part is important. There is like a vanilla sweetness in there alongside the white chocolate, alongside the lemon, that really balances everything out and actually makes it taste like cake, which is exactly what it says on here. A decadent lemon drizzle flavour white hot chocolate that tastes like cake. And it does. It's so good. It is refreshing as a hot chocolate can be, and just really, really tasty, and I have to hold off on how much I'm drinking these. And then finally I have some different things that I got up to between the months of March and May. And I couldn't talk about like experiences of the past few months without talking about Katie Lumsden's book launch. Katie over at Books and Things invited me and a bunch of other booktubers to the launch of her book The Secrets of Heartwood Hall, and it was just such a wonderful experience getting to meet Katie and getting to meet all of the other lovely booktubers that were there, some of whom I knew already and others others that were just completely new to me, but all of them were just so lovely. Hopefully I will get to meet all of them again soon. Another really lovely experience that I had was going to the Elizabeth Gaskell House Museum in Manchester. That was something that has been on my bucket list to do for quite a while, because even though I've read I think 5 of Elizabeth Gaskell's novels, and I definitely think she's one of my favourite Victorian authors, I actually didn't know a whole lot about her life. But actually getting to be in that building, getting to chat with some of the museum's volunteers was just really, really lovely and informative, and it made me just so intrigued to learn more. I actually picked up a biography of her life from that trip, and I'm really looking forward to delving in. It was Oxford Literary Festival during March, and you'll know I work for a publisher, Princeton University Press. We are based in Oxford, so we're always very, very involved in Oxford Lit Fest. But I did end up going to some non-PUP events as well, and my favourite by far was definitely the talk held between Dan Snow from Dan Snow's History Hit and Alice Loxton, generally talking about the value of history in the 21st century, but also talking about Alice's book Uproar, which I have mentioned on my channel. I did a whole review of it, which I'll link down below, and it was just a really fascinating talk. Obviously they were saying a lot of things that I already agree with, you know, as a history graduate, as somebody who is a lover of history, and I will talk about it any chance I get, but I also feel like they talked about it in such a passionate way that was still accessible, and even if you were kind of unconvinced as to the merits of history and learning history, that maybe you could have been convinced. And then the last thing that I want to talk about today is actually something that I did yesterday, and that was going to junkyard golf with my musical theatre society, which is basically like combined mini golf and disco, which is not something I thought I was going to have a good time at because I am uncoordinated. I have very poor hand-eye coordination. I'm not a big fan of golf at the best of times, but I actually had a really lovely time, and especially because you know, this past week I've been feeling really, really down about my eyes and the fact that this infection is just not clearing up and it's not getting better. Actually being able to spend a little bit of time with my friends just was able to put it out of my mind for a few hours. I think there are quite a few junkyard golfs around the UK, so if you get a chance to go, I really recommend it. So there we go, that's just a little quick video about my favourite things from the spring months. Do let me know anything that you enjoyed in spring, be it film and TV, be it fashion, YouTube videos that you've been watching, podcasts you've been listening to, or anything miscellaneous. I would love to hear from you. I hope you're having a fantastic, fantastic day, and I look forward to talking to you again soon. Thanks. Bye.